Hello, the Internet. Welcome to yet another edition of What Do You Know Wednesday. This is Sean Quadlin, part of PPC Hero, and today we're going to be finding out how you can locate the Gerald B. Watson Memorial Sweet Spot. Brian Watson is a person who trained me in the ways of PPC, and he often talked about bidding smartest. Sometimes you have to find which position works best for you. Top position isn't always going to be the most cost-effective. So today we're going to identify the sweet spot using pivot tables. This is my third video blog, and it's my third time I've talked about pivot tables. But get off my back, because Walt Whitman wrote and released Leaves of Grass, his compilation of poetry, over 6 times. So sometimes you can revisit the same area a lot, and it's not a big deal, like Walt Whitman. So let's start on how to find the sweet spot. First, we're going to download our keyword level data from the interface. So just go to the keyword tab, select your date range, and then you definitely want to segment it. You can choose which date range you do. We're going to do week for the purpose of this demonstration, but if you do daily bid changes, you can look average position day by day. It's all going to get aggregated anyway, so day would be fine. We're just going to go week here. And just because I know that there's some people that are Bing fans, look at this. This is what it looks like when you download it from Bing. So we're using Google data, but here's a tip of the cap to Bing and all the fine folks over there. You can also download their keyword data. But if we go to the next tab, this is what the data is going to look like, and so it's segmented by week over here, and then you can see that average position fluctuates as we have different bid changes throughout the week. And so we want to find which of these is the Gerald B. Watson Memorial Sweet Spot. And so we're just going to scan through and see. We're looking only in one campaign for the purposes of today's demonstration, and it's also important to know that you can look at different campaigns, but a lot of times you want to get as segmented as possible so you can know that even different campaigns perform differently. So this is what we're looking at today, and all of this information is just for demonstration purposes. It's not real stuff. I had to modify it, so I apologize if anything looks silly. Like luxury TVs is in there, and the ad groups aren't great. It's just data, so it's a placeholder. Please don't hold me accountable for it. So what we're going to do here is use a pivot table, because this is the Walt Whitman edition of What Do You Know Wednesday. So just go to Data, and then Pivot Table. Let me pull this menu down. It's on the second screen of mine. Here it is. And so we're just going to accept all of the options that it gives us, and then we can start using our pivot table builder. This will vary, as I've said before, depending on what version of Excel you have, but they'll have pretty much the same functionality. The important part is just kind of sorting it out and making sure that you're comfortable with whatever version you're using. So our row is going to be average position, because we want to find what average position is most cost effective for our account. And so since all of these numbers, clicks and click-through rate and stuff like that is going to vary by each keyword, we want to do calculated fields here. So we're going to actually add 3 calculated fields. So the first one is calculated CTR, and so this aggregates all of the data across the different weeks and the different keywords. So let's just make sure that we have the best that we could. Clicks divided by impressions. Okay, and so that's in there now. We also want to do calculated conversion rate. And that's just going to be conversions divided by clicks. Okay. And the final one is just cost per conversion. You can really look at whatever you want to. These are the metrics that I find useful for identifying the Gerald B. Watson Memorial Sweet Spot. But if you want to look a different way, like cost per click or anything like that, more power to you. So it's all up to you what you find the most value in. So cost per conversion. There we go. And then you'll notice that there are all these row labels, and that's not very effective. So another important step in locating what we want to do today is I just right-click over in that row label column, and then you can just do group and outline. And so group, it'll pop up right here. We want to start from 1, go all the way up to 29.5, which is our lowest average position. Whoa, that's low. And we're just going to do every unit of 1 average position. You could do 0.5, you could do whatever you want, depending on what level of granularity you're looking for. But this is how we're going to look at it. So now we can see if you're in 1, position 2, etc. all the way down. And then for me, my eyeballs kind of bleed if I look at numbers like that, so I always have to format them differently. But it's up to you, It's a free world, as Walt Whitman wrote about so frequently. And so we'll change this to accounting, so now we can see cost per conversion. And this is where you can really start to learn your lessons. So top position, pretty high cost per conversion because we're trying to keep it around 13 in this account. And so right here we can see that a sweet spot has really emerged. This is a pretty mature account, the data that we're using that we modified, but we've kind of learned over time that this is the sweet spot between 4 and 6. And so what's even weirder is that 5 and 6 is the best in terms of cost per conversion and conversion rate. What's also interesting is just taking a look at how click-through rate does decline as you get lower and lower in positions. But look at that. At the sweet spot, it pops right back up. So 2.28, upward 2 to 3 is. So for some reason, for this set of data, we can just see that this is the sweet spot. You know, Gerald Watson was speaking some truth back when he trained me. And so I think the final thing just to keep in mind about this is that make sure that your data is statistically valid. So I just take a quick look at cost or just number of clicks, just because something could have a really great CPA or a really terrible one, but you just want to make sure that it is statistically valid. So here we can see that most clicks are in the 2 sweet spot campaigns just because we've kind of learned this lesson over the course of time. But if you were just now trying to first identify what your sweet spot is, this is the way that I'd recommend doing it. And so that's the end of a pretty long What Do You Know Wednesday today from Sean Quadlin. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you give me, give me the benefit of the doubt like people used to do with Walt Whitman back in the day when he was republishing Leaves of Grass over and over until he died. Thanks, guys. Bye, the internet.